Yo, what's up, everybody? I'm Mateo, and this is Ignorant the Podcast, a podcast where I invite all sorts of different people to make me less ignorant to the things they do, why they do it, how they do it, what it takes, and the perspective they have on life. Thanks for tuning in.
That's fine.
So we're here.
Well,
Do your thing, man.
I got my friends, Mav and Matt, and I brought them on because these are some of the two only guys. Well, one I just started to get to know Matt for the last few weeks, but between him and Mav, we're the only like friends I have that we can just talk about mental health and stuff like that. And I wanted to kind of address that because I feel like that a lot of guys aren't really cool with talking to their homies just about whatever, because they think it's like emasculating or whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah. And with you, I noticed we had those students that you brought in, and you were talking about a lot of like talking about how it's like all mental and you gotta like make sure you're taking care of yourself and all that, and they came to make beats, you know what I'm saying? At first I'm like, man, what is this guy talking about? I like literally took off my headphones, I stopped doing what I was doing, I was just listening, and I was like, oh, I actually like that you're really doing that with the kids stuff. And then they were like really receptive of it, and they're like, honestly, yeah, this is how I feel sometimes, blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, that's dope that, you know what I mean, that even in this hip hop world that we could talk about that kind of stuff and be open-minded about it, you know what I mean? And I really appreciate that. But
Appreciate
do you want to... No, thanks. I'm going to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody what you do for MCSDA on the hip-hop side and all that. And then,
Yeah, so I've been making beats for a while. Just really helps me. I didn't even know it at first. So I started off as a kid using FL Studio, and didn't really know what I was doing. It was really frustrating at first. I felt like there's too many options. So I kind of gravitated, because I would play video games to kind of like isolate myself from like my family. There was always something going on. Just a big family, and so I would find these things that really isolate myself in my own way, because just felt like for one reason or another I just wasn't being heard. You know what I mean? I didn't really know how to cope with that. So I would just go to things that were just like immediate pleasure, you know what I mean, and just keep me on that short cycle. And then so going into video games, I found this I don't even know where it came from. It was this video game called Music Maker.
Oh, nice.
And it was just like loops and like
Was that
drums.
on PlayStation?
Yeah,
I feel like I remember that.
My buddy Clay had that, and he was making I'll talk about that, but yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy, bro. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just like, this is way quicker than FL. You know what I mean? So I was like, I'm gonna do this, and I play the PS2, so it's super convenient. I don't have to move nowhere. You know what I mean? I'll just put the disc in, and so through that, I think I got into middle school, and then I was like, oh, girls, and forgot all about that stuff. And and then I kind of came back to it when I got into my freshman, sophomore year of high school. Because my sophomore year, I was super invested into football. That was I was just like, this is what I'm gonna do. This is what I know how to do. And it was years later, reflecting on that, even in this moment, kind of touching back on that, because I don't talk about it too much. You know what I mean? But it was my outlet.
For sure.
I could just hit the shit out of someone and oh, I feel better all of a sudden. Wow, this really works for me. You know what I mean? It was really convenient. It was something that I bonded with my family about. You know what I mean? It was something. It felt good. And then so I had compartment syndrome, which is the outer wrapping of my calves doesn't let the oxygen out. So I was just doing track one day. It was Hell Week, and what was it, man? I was running on the track. I don't even know what we were doing. We were just running laps. It was Hell Week. Just run forever.
Make or break. That's what it's for. Make or break.
Yeah, and I collapsed, and I couldn't get back up. And it was the weirdest feeling, because it was I'm legs, do the leg thing, go, right. And they were just no, and that
so
was
both calves, not just one calf.
Yeah, they were both like beet red.
Damn, that's crazy.
And it was weird. Yeah, I had no idea what was going on. It happened to me once before in football, but like I just ignored it and just kept going. But then, I ended up going to the doctor, like a specific leg doctor that they recommended. And so in order to test it, they had these like giant needles, can't give you no pain medication or whatever because it affects the oxygen levels. So they stick the needles in my compartments and like measure the oxygen flow, and they're like, like you have compartment syndrome. They didn't really know what to do because I was the only person that they knew of in the Midwest over 200 pounds. Usually it's like cross country runners.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
So they were like,
shot put. Shit like that.
Yeah. So they eventually were like, well, we could try cutting it open and keep our fingers crossed that it heals back. And that was like, I was so obsessed with football that I was like, I'll do anything. Like I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then like I end up like doing the surgery, get like way more depressed about it because I'm just sitting there and like.
So this was like the beginning of your mental health journey, realizing.
Yeah.
Kind of okay.
Yeah. And like actually being consumed by those thoughts of like, I'm not good enough. I'll never do this again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Actually feeling those things.
All that work for nothing.
Yeah.
It seems like
it's just endless when like it takes over like that.
Yeah. For sure.
And so it was like, actually being consumed by those things and like it was actually a blessing because it was like, sometimes people talk about like the people who suffer the most, like sometimes boom, like have the quickest path to happiness because you're face to face with your fears.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for me, it was like I couldn't go anywhere, and I started getting more and more into like GarageBand and like FL Studio, and I would be so frustrated, like because it's like I didn't know what I was doing, and like through that I was like actually venting how I felt about life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it was so relatable in that way.
Yeah.
So when I started actually getting into myself through that process, it was like I felt like I was able to see people differently all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like it was like, oh, like I get that, like these people are suffering, you know what I mean? This isn't right, or like that's not okay.
Yeah.
And like I can actually like not be consumed by that because I've been consumed by those feelings before. You know what I mean? So it was like it was really dope in that way, and like connecting with a lot of people that I don't think I would have if I just kept playing football, and like because I was just like extremely focused on football and girls. And it was like so one track minded that it was like until I actually stepped out of that, I was like, oh, like I was creating all those
it's like
uncomfortable situations.
Oh wait, 2 weeks. Go ahead, keep on.
Just so the camera probably see better.
Heck yeah.
But coming out of high school is a big shock all the way around. They play sports or not.
It's like, what do you mean? This isn't how things are all the time?
Yeah. It's like, oh, wait, bills? I mean, well, unless you're fortunate enough to be able to live with your parents and all that, but it's like bills on bills or whatever, or have to have a job.
Yeah.
And they don't pay,
Yeah, and I was very fortunate, like, because my mom and I were like very connected throughout, because like I told you, my dad died when I was 6, so like my mom and I were always like inseparable in that way. So like I was so used to like her kind of fixing things for me, so when I did become consumed by all that like grief and sadness and suffering, that it was like I was like, oh, like I have to do this. You know what I mean? Like, and like that causes a lot of disconnect between me and her. You know what I mean? Because it was like our old like patterns were just gone. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, we don't have anything new. But like, for one reason or another, one of us would always be trying to like go back into whatever it was, and the other person's like, no, like I'm over here. So there was this extreme like, I got to do my own thing. Like I went to Michigan Tech for a year. Ended up making beats the whole fucking time. Like
you wasn't paying attention, or
no. I mean, I went to class, but it was like at a certain point, I just remember I was like, yeah, man, like, I'd rather just be on YouTube, like, studying something that actually interests me.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah, I could relate to that.
Yeah, man.
Wow. Well, Mav, one thing I wanted to ask you is work-life balance and how do you stay sane and that stuff? Because I know you're traveling all day, every day, or every week. You know, you're flying. You got phone calls. You know, you got people coming in, government contracts, local contracts.
Like even now, like trying to find balance. I'm printing off the recording. We'll tape it so that way we can keep it and everything. I'll put it on something fancy. But yeah, that way we can just keep it. And it'll be more apparent. Anyway, I don't know, man. Like balance, like. Oh, that's printer. Wow, this thing.
I was wondering. I was like, what was that?
Yeah.
I was like,
good. That's why Shane was like, oh wow, he got that. But yeah, all honesty, man. Like as far as like balance and even just kind of like you know, touching base on like what you said, Matt, about just kind of like being more aware and empathetic to everything. It's just like I think that's where like I've pulled in. Yeah, pulled on. That's where I've like even kind of just started to realize like how much, as busy as I am with everything, like how much I got to be aware of like everybody else is busy, you know, and just like you're saying about like kind of, yo, like it's not all about me, it's not all about this, it's not all, you know, even to fall into some of it on our side, you know, of things, it's like on this side, like of the football kind of mentality and everything that falls in with like breaking. You go everywhere, you do everything, you know everybody, you know. All of a sudden it's like, you know, you're the top of the pops everywhere and stuff. So it's like being more aware of everybody else, being more empathetic to people and stuff like that.
Fine.
Okay,
we're gonna have to get new.
Yeah, why the hell don't this like stay? Anyway, I'll deal with that.
It's a learning process.
Like so, and the thing is like this just kind of really shows like the balance. Like my mind is always in this mode. I'm like, oh, I gotta print this. Oh, I gotta do this. Oh, I still got this going. Oh, I got people texting me about stuff that they were supposed to call me an hour ago about, but they know they're. The balance is hard, yo. Like, and I don't know, you know, I don't know how much I vest into like being a Libra and all that stuff and everything too, you know, the science on that side of things. It's there a little bit, definitely, but I feel like that's everybody's chase is, you know, trying to figure out, you know, balance between it and stuff like that. Yeah, there ain't no real, like, it's like every day just kind of pacing, like to be like, what are the things I want to do? What are the things I need to do? What are the things that like need to happen to benefit myself? Like I have to cut time out to train. Like as much as I've been running around all day, I'm like, I have to train because this is week 2 I'm going into where I haven't done anything physical, and I'm just like,
I'm just like, you're just so dedicated,
you know. And it goes into that, like, you know, and it's funny you bring up like stuff like, I get the point of it, like with football and stuff and pushing, but like, how much of that what do you think was brought on by you being pushed too hard? You know what I mean? Like them pushing like to the point. And it's like the conversation, were you here was Albie and Tyler for sure. But it's the conversation of how much is like challenging somebody versus pressuring them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like what point was your body breaking down, but you knew because of this like idea of Hell Week, you have to go through it. And it's like, at what point did they break you? Literally, not like like emotionally, because you were ready to go. Yeah. But like mentally and stuff like that. But like physically, like they pushed you to the point where you like gratefully, you know, we wouldn't know you otherwise. You know, if it was, well, I mean, who knows how the universe works? Yeah. But you know, like that, like where's the balance in that? You know what I mean? Like where's the balance in being able to like hear somebody that's like either like that's just physically to their capacity to the point that now you have to go through all of this like turmoil and trauma of needles and going to doctors and cost and stuff and everything. Like where's the balance there? And so like I just, you know, like I pushed myself to the point of, you know, my ACL and my meniscus going out and stuff like that. I was training every day. Yeah, okay, cool. I'm at a competition level, you know, like able to compete, travel. Not winning anything, wasn't winning anything yet, but I was getting to that point where it was like I was consistently making it to the finals, semis, top 8, and bigger breaking markets, bigger dance markets, right? So like yeah, that would have been great to keep going, but I pushed myself past that. So it's like, even like you're saying about like, you know, just being aware of, in hearing your story, I'm just like, yo, like, where was the balance there? Like, where was that point where they were like, you know what, you probably are, because you were probably showing mad signs up until that point, but we don't pay attention to that shit because it's just win.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I had so many people tell me, oh, it's just shin splints.
Yeah,
it's just shin splints.
Yeah.
And that was the culture I was immersed in. You know what I mean? It was like, it was like, now that I'm like thinking about it, you know, it was heavily like kind of glorifying violence, almost. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, this is what we do. We sacrifice. We put our bodies on the line. Your father went to war. Your grandfather went to, you know what I mean? It was like, it's always this sacrifice. And like, you know, I definitely got to a point, I remember coming back from college and I was like, yo, Mom, like, what we define as love, like, it's not love to me. You know what I mean? And that was a very hard conversation for me to have, of many, with her, that it's like, man, like, how do I, you know, learn the right thing that works for me, and like also like be okay with everything around me, like my environment, you know what I mean? And that was like definitely just kind of what I feel like I fell into, because I would, once I found the answers for myself, I was so conflicted on like, how do I want to help these people, and like that was an even deeper layer of like, yo, I just want like I grew up in a way where like I want everyone to be happy for the sake of myself, which isn't love. You know what I mean? So it was like, again, I had to go deeper into that and just be real with those feelings of like, I mean, I got to a certain point where it was like I didn't think about how my dad passed away anymore. You know what I mean? And that's just gonna be forever. That's my own thing. And through not respecting that, it's like I let this like fear of abandonment kind of manifest really heavily. So like that would make like, oh, someone feels uncomfortable in front of me, like how can I fix this? And what I'm really doing is tricking myself to be like, oh, like you want them to feel happy, and it's like, no, like I want my environment to be good around me and comfy and cozy. You know what I mean? So I would definitely say the balance is always, it's always changing.
It's a learning process constantly, you know.
Yeah, that what do you call it, man? Like that appeasement for others in order to be happy, like that's like a perfect imbalance. Like you're never gonna be in a space where it's like everybody's okay, like, or where everyone in the room is cool with you. It's like, it's just, I don't know, it's something I picked up a long time ago, like as I started making moves for myself. Like these are affecting people. They feel, why are they upset that I'm like chasing my dreams, like that I'm doing something I love? Why is that bothering people? And it's like, and then you internalize it and you realize that they're just projecting like the fact that they can't do that. Exactly. They can't escape whatever they're doing. Sure. And so it's like, in order to make them happy, I gotta stop doing what I'm doing. Fuck that. Yeah, fuck that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no, I'm gonna continue doing this thing, and if it bothers you, I'm sorry, but good luck to you. Yeah. That's the way I've always left relationships. I've always left friendships, you know, when I had to. It's just like I don't know, man. Like, you know, growing up without having too much attachment to anything and anyone, like it was always easy for me to be like, okay, cool, bye. Yeah, other people like just would. And again, back to like the empathy. I didn't understand, like, why are you so drowned out about this? Like, down and out. Like, you'll find a new friend. Oh, but they meant so much. It's like, yeah, and another one will come by, because I never had anything that lasted that long. So it's like, it's all those things that you come up, like, as we get older, you start realizing, like, in this common practice of having these kind of conversations with our shorties, like, yo, this stuff that you're affecting is affecting you now. If we don't address it, it's gonna go into hiding, and then it's gonna pop up on you in your 30s. Or early 20s, like, it's just gonna randomly spurt up on you, and just, you don't really know, like, how, like, and why, you know? And then you start questioning everything, and you don't because that access to that technology of understanding that this stuff happens to everybody, right? It gets masked with, like, you know, financial, economic status. It gets masked by like masculinity, toxic masculinity. It gets masked by society. It gets masked by the people you have around you. So it's like all those layers built up around it, and you never get a chance to address it. So it's like why is that technology of mental health awareness and practices and unpacking and looking at things and being able to decompartmentalize things. Why is that like so foreign? I can figure out all this stuff otherwise. Like even like just the idea of like even job skills. Like I have all these skills elsewise. Why isn't this given to me in the beginning? Yeah. Like so that way I understand when somebody's bullying me is because of what they're going through, and I'm not just looking at like they don't like me. It has nothing to do with me. But like you're saying, then you want to try to appease said bully, and then it just makes that worse because then they're like, you're making me feel like shit for treating you like shit, so I'm gonna be worse. And it's like, what? You're like, how is it? But that's like what ends up happening with the shorties. That's what happens with us growing up and stuff. And it just becomes, and you start, and it just turns violent. And then depending on the situation and what they have next to them, that turns deadly. That turns violent. That turns all kinds of other stuff and everything. Maybe they got cousins who are down to start shit with them and stuff like that, and they're ready to go. Like maybe they have access to pistols. Maybe they have access to other dumb shit. They've seen people get beat, and it's normal. Like the idea of violence being normalized. Like
that's crazy.
It's wild because then it's just like, oh shit, like our norms aren't other people's norms. And again, that empathy and understanding and stuff like that. Like it's like it really does come down to that. Like if you can understand like a common ground for everybody, it's straight. But like you have at least the understanding to like you know how to navigate without trying to appease them. It's like that's cool. Like I get it. You probably going through some stuff and I understand it. And then going into the next part of like, you know, knowing, having access to that technology again, having access to that knowledge. Like I don't feel like it's like whatever, knowledge or technology. Like the second that it's a skill set or some like sort of like system, it feels like technology to me. It's like the same way this works, same way that works, same way this shit works. It's got a iOS operating system to it, and it's gonna operate these ways. It's the same thing with like understanding mental health and understanding how to get through it and everything. Like for so long we were just preaching, all you need to do is just run in there and practice and things will be okay. It's like that doesn't address shit. Like you're just tired. Now you're tired and alone with your thoughts. It's like fuck. Like you know what I mean? Like but like what do you do? Like yeah, great, you got to hit people and get that like off, right? Yeah. But then what did you do? What did you understand to understand any of it?
No,
why
it
were
would just
you
come
angry?
right back
right?
up.
It doesn't go. It has to happen, right? That part has to happen, but it doesn't work unless it's in tandem with like understanding those feelings and being able to talk about that. Like you can't even get to healing before you start knowing how to disperse that energy and understand where that energy came from. Because if all you're doing is dispersing it, it's just gonna keep coming. It's just gonna keep coming. It's like sitting there putting like a bucket underneath a pipe that's leaking. Like if you don't know how to fix the pipe, you're not doing shit but gonna keep having to empty that thing. But the second you understand how to repair that pipe and fix it and stuff and everything, then all of a sudden you could worry about drying and then making your basement look nice, right? And so it's like it kind of flows the same way with life. Like second you don't understand all this, and that's why this stuff is so important. Those conversations that you had with the young dudes that were here, same ones I have with like Tyler and Edwin about all this stuff. You know, it's just like we know because we're on the other side of understanding it, and whether that's like healing or just understanding, at least as we're on our path of healing and seeing that this space is open up, I hear you. We right away, you pick up on it too. We'll both like, we'll hear something and like, like we'll be like, oh, all of us will like have this like deer, like here's a noise in the woods. Like, yo, I hear you, young homie. Like, that's you hurting. You're doing these things like, and you're going to continue like hurting yourself unless like we can help you and show you like, hey, talk to. Yo, like here's how it goes. And then like we had a conversation with the young homie. Like there comes a point where like I know I'm gonna be able to go to you about something sound wise, right? Yeah, sure. And be like, cool, you have an understanding of things and we can have that conversation. But at a certain point there's gonna be something of that is gonna be above your pay grade. Like you're just not gonna understand like why is like the internals of, and I don't know, maybe you do know, I got layered whatever, I don't want to say, but like like why isn't this screen working the way it is? Why is it like flickering or some shit? We're gonna have to go to a specialist. We're gonna have to go to same thing like a car, right? Your car, like we all, okay, hey, your brake pads, I can help you with that, stuff like that. But at a certain point, you start talking about like the whole master cylinder and pumps and pressures and everything, and what does it have to be regulated to? People are gonna be like, what do? You go to a mechanic. You go to somebody who knows what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah.
That's where people, I just feel like, don't do that with mental health. They just kind of are like, well, my friends make me feel good. Like, well, that fix it. Like, you're not addressing it. People aren't holding you accountable to those actions of like you doing those things and willing to have conversations and stuff. Like, we do have those conversations, but it also gets to a point where we're just like, yo, therapy, real counseling, talking to a mental health professional might help you, because I don't know what's that. Like, you're experiencing something maybe I don't have, and that also comes from empathy, knowing that, you know, okay, cool, I figured out my shit, but that don't mean I understand the whole fucking thing. That's why these people make so much goddamn money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
like,
and I think there's the other side of like how, like you said, you know, like it's like being vulnerable, to me, is like always the first step, right? You know what I mean? It's like always gonna be a moment of like, well, I don't know, should I know, or is this a good thought, is this a bad thought? And that's just always the thought. It's that in itself is a thought. You know what I mean? So getting trapped or feeling trapped in your mind is usually like a matter of being like, do I really feel this way? Like, is this absolutely true? Like, do I need to know this? Or like, who would I be without this? You know what I mean? Like, these are all like totally awesome ways to like maneuver and navigate the mind, you know what I mean? And like, I just know from my experience, like journaling, getting it out in the physical, you know what I mean? Like, just really addressing that and being like, okay, like I know how I feel people perceive me, but like just me and myself right here with this thought, like, what is it? You know what I mean? And not even really, and whenever that happens, like I don't even feel like I know my own name. Like I don't even know anything, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's just the universe, like it's like that's what it is, you know what I mean? Like, you don't go around and see nature and the trees like, let me tell you about life, young man, sit right here, you know what I mean? I grew my leaves when I was just a brand, you know what I mean? Like nobody, like that's why there's so much inspiration from nature and the way things just are, because it's like, that's like, we're the only ones thinking like, oh geez, like one of these days, like I'm not gonna be here anymore, you know what I mean? Oh geez, like what am I gonna do tomorrow? Like, you know what I mean? Everything else is just like bird. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just gonna do whatever it is. Like, I know what I'm doing. Bird stuff. I'm a squirrel. Like, all that shit, man. And like, I think that is why like we're self-aware and they're not, because like there is a simplicity to things. You know what I mean? That we, you know, we want things to, like, I mean, look at cars, look at all this shit that we have, you know what I mean?
Clothes, it's like everything,
everything. So complicated.
Haircuts, what glasses to pick, what shirt to wear, what car you're gonna get, what way you post stuff, you know,
how
like
can I impress
like,
her or him?
Like how do you like the again those layers, the society pressure, all those things and stuff and everything. It's like, there was something that was posted, I can't remember exactly, but it's just like at a certain point, just being able to be happy just doing, like, and not so concerned with outward pressures. Like, the more that you have coming at you, you know, like the more that you're internalizing all of that outward and so worried about it, it's like a value that like we teach about, like being original, creating your own moves. And it's like, one, it's like I don't know, it just feels so shallow sometimes in the breaking world. Like, we just have to be original, but why? But why? Like,
what is originality?
Yeah, like, why am I being original? Because Bitey moves is whack. Well, why? And like, and that's what always caused me to like start shit with all my OGs, because they would just be like, yo, this is the way it's done. Okay, why?
Yeah.
Well, that's the way it's always been done. Like, nobody questioned it. Like, should we be doing this the same way? Like, I get like honoring traditions and respecting craft and stuff, but also beyond that, why? Why is originality this thing? Why are we trying to like be like why are we trying to be original? Like, what is it that wanted to drive that? Because it's just fresh. It's like, but why? Like, you know what I mean? But like,
it's
and they're just like,
keep asking why.
And it's just like, and they just could like, even like the answers I was getting about like why in those spaces was just so like shallow, just for the sake of hip hop. And I was like, nah, man. And then as I like started learning more about social emotional learning, development processes and stuff, it's like, well, what does it take to be original? What does it take to stand apart of the crowd? And that's you really believing in what you do so much that you don't care what those outside pressures are trying to put on you. You can question toxic masculinity. You can question ancestral trauma and correct it. You can question the way you grew up and all of those traumas, and the way that you're or the way that you're perpetuating the shitty behavior that your parents did, because that was just what it was. But when you're able to be original, you're able, even the way that I parent, I'll do it the way I do it, because it's just it didn't, whatever the fuck everybody else is doing ain't working, because look at these people. I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with breaking. Everything's so unique. Why am I going to break a 5'4", 120-pound dude? There's no way in hell my body physically is going to be able to do what they do. So I have to approach it a whole different way. So it's like these lessons that are there, beyond just being dope and being fresh.
Yeah.
God, but
because when it comes down to it, it's I'm sure you feel when you're creating something, you know what I mean, from that point of creation, once again, we don't know anything. There's nothing to know. It's just a matter of oh, this is right. Oh yeah, that sounded right. You know what I mean? It's not even I was all right, I'm gonna get this hi-hat and specifically this hi-hat. No, it was just I was pressing buttons and I was oh yeah.
And that's what I heard you telling Edwin when he's trying to, and even today with Tyler when he was writing, I was stop trying to put out perfection. Get it out, put it on the plate. Yeah. And I feel that even can kind of tap into journaling.
Yes.
Because you're not really worried about putting out the answer. You're just getting the ideas out.
Yeah, document versus create.
Yeah, and
that's
then,
one of my favorite things.
And then you're able to look at it and be oh, and then it's almost the same process of that. We had the long conversation with him out front about, let's get it all out on paper and then hone it down and then chisel it out and stuff and figure out what we want to work with from there. But to just, I don't know, man, it's just so, it's something I'm thinking about now. Why are we so programmed as individuals to want to put out perfection as opposed to just letting it all get out there and grabbing it? The way I practice, most people are well, you're not really doing anything. And it's I'm coming up with ideas. And I'm going to rewatch this footage. That's part of my practice, is to sit there and watch my footage and then look at something and be I like that. Let me do that again. And now let me really hone in on that angle. Let me hone in on that flow. What was that? And that whole process. And how does that work for people? And I feel that's why so many people fail, because they're not able to just get it out.
Yeah,
they're so
trying
worried
to eat the whole cake instead of just, all right, let me just start with
this. Let me get this little piece done. Again, trying to look at project-based things and project-based stuff and everything. Why I'm so heavy about that, because it just worked for me. Let me get this out. Let me try this. And it was dope when you were just pushing Edwin to be hey, just hit the buttons. Just put it out there. See what happens. Start playing with the keyboard. You were I have a melody in my head. Well, start messing around with it. What does it sound like? Low, high, mid, kind of start very vague, and then focus in on what it is. And it's kind of dope, because then it's letting me know on that side, you don't necessarily have to read into all the social emotional metrics and all this science that comes with what I've built up over the while. That is just there's I watch people who are strong in their crafts are able to do it. It's the same thing with this. Just try it.
Yeah, just
see what happens. Oh shit, this audio didn't come out right. Okay, well now we know how to do all this video. Oh man, the computer's doing this. Well, now we know, and now we could start addressing these things. Why? How does that equate, and why doesn't it equate over to mental health? When we do things, why aren't we letting things happen? And I'm not saying shitty behavior, go and check, but why aren't you able, the journaling is what I'm talking about. Why aren't you getting out those emotions so you can see them and then start honing in on things and be that and stuff? And again, the shitty part is if you don't have the economic status to afford it, you don't have accessibility to it, you're not around the right people. Again, the society, you're around the wrong stuff and everything.
And that's purposeful, man.
Yeah.
Like they weren't trying to like, oh, here's the keys. Like, nah, man. They were like, okay, let's make highways all around this bitch and box people in.
Let's redline the technology
and mental health, so
it's
that way
crazy.
They can't like get into it and stuff. And
then you're surrounded by the same group of people. You do the same thing. Like they all know what are you talking about? Go on this side of 8 Mile. Like it's ridiculous, man.
And it perpetuates that same behavior, and then it doesn't change the causes. They reward those doing that, so that way they can continue that system. Because look, this is again back to like the football aspect and stuff like that. Here's why you have to do it. Like, and because you went, your people went to war, and it's like we play football on Sunday, Friday, you know, like
I don't know what war looks like. I've never seen it.
We went, you know, and it's just like I love football, but like I think once I remember like we were just there, like probably like Nano was like 13, and we had just had like we were doing counseling, me, him, and his mom and stuff, and just kind of like not like as a family, but like just individually, and so it was just common practice and stuff like that. So we were talking, me and Nano. And a lot of the stuff came up about like, you know, just me growing up with like real machismo ass uncles, like, and stuff like that, and just man up and all that sort of language that I just grew up around. And it's wild because then once we started addressing it and understanding it and where it was coming from, he's 13 and he just looks around at a football game. He was like, man, these some insecure ass dudes. like I was like, no, don't swear. What? You right. Like this whole culture is like insane. Like we're watching like, you know, he's just like, look at how they like what look at these guys, right? He's the one like, look at these, like he was just embarrassed. Like look at these dudes with two, like they're holding a beer and they can't see their feet and they're over there like, yeah, look at that chick and shit and everything. You know, the cheerleaders on the ground, and I'm just like, and he's just like, yo, like this is America, like, you know, and I'm all like, cool, man, like, you know, and it's like there's moments that I've always like heard him say things and vocalize, like the other night when we were here, that I'm always like hella proud of, like I did invest into the right things. I did correct this generational behavior. That's what I was trying to say earlier. The generational behavior, another layer. The generational behavior, like I did stop that. Like the buck did stop there because I seen how wrong it was and how it was affecting my kid, and I didn't sit there and then act like, well, I'm the parent, they should just do that. You know, like how harmful that shit is. It's like being able to correct that and just seeing him do things. So like when we had this conversation the other day with one of the other young adults that we have here about it, and I was just hearing him say like he dropping bombs. Like I was just like, shit, like he gets it, like good, like he can address these things. It's why he can have conversations with some of his homies about stuff and they don't get it. So it's just like that's like then the overall like atmosphere, economy, no, the overall environment, of how we have conversations around here and stuff and everything. Like we can't, like even the one even, you know, some of the ones that we have to have conversations with in different situations, they'll be able to address us. They'll be able to address, and I've always been like really proud of the fact that like exclamation marks show up above people's heads when they hear like a kid challenge or correct me. Like they should be able to. Just because I'm older than them doesn't mean that I'm always right. Like y'all need to get off that high horse.
So they have the chance. Let them speak.
Why would they say? And it's not like they're coming at me like disrespectful. They're just. But the second that somebody younger addresses you, it becomes an issue. You know what I mean? Sure. And like your ego, your pride. Why? Again, back to those things. We don't have a way of why don't we have that? Why is everything in a hierarchy where there's somebody at the top? Everything we do and address is always that way. It's always, and it's like, it's wild because like you realize that there's no room for growth at the top. Like everybody else props you up, and that's how you stay. But if you invert it, you're able to prop others, and that growth is infinite. When the triangles flip the other way, you're able to like, if as opposed to everybody propping me up at the top, and then that's it. Like, so if you're looking at it this way, like all it goes towards is one person. But if I flip it around and look at it this way, then everything that I am and everything that I do, resources, knowledge, whatever I do, that's able to prop up those people who are able to help those people and go to those people. And it's like perfect example. My access to grant money was able to buy a whole bunch of equipment so that Matt could come in here and start doing a whole bunch of shit. And then people are going to come to him to be like, hey, I'd love to do that. And then he's going to be able to do it. I don't have to influence that. I already helped him get there to be able to take it from there. And then it's all just going to come from, and then it just grows from there. Who knows if people want to start a podcast on their own based on what he's doing. I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
I bought it because it was like Google. I was like, I applied for a grant. And I said we were going to do a podcast. I was like, shit. And then he was like, yeah, I'd love to do a podcast. I was like, actually, here. Take all this shit, figure it out so I don't get in trouble, man. But, you know, it worked out.
That's why I'm super grateful for cats like you, bro. Because it's like,
same shit.
That's how, like, shit. We always wanted to change this place, you know what I mean? I feel that in common with a lot of people my age that I see around here. You know, it's like this, it's not exactly how we idealize it. You know what I mean? And then there's points of that are selfish, and there's points of that are like globally, like a global consciousness of like, okay, we all share these ideas. This is good, you know what I mean? Or whatever. And that's why I think it's important, you know what I mean, to now more than ever, especially when we seen that when society stopped, it was like, oh, am I happy with all these things I have?
Yeah. Oh man, the mental stress behind the pandemic is a whole nother deal. Even for myself, going back to work after the pandemic, it was insane. Come open the studio again, like, you know, it's just everything. Yeah. Then
again, that blew a relationship. Yeah. So back to balance, I couldn't. Like the balance was to restore balance, and that just didn't last. And then I'm like, sorry, like and it wasn't that she was like being like insane with her demands. It was normal, but I just knew I couldn't deliver. So it was like, yo, like this ain't working, man. Like I'm just not the right one at the right time, I guess. And stuff like that. And it sucked because I really grew with that person, and it was a good relationship, it was a good space and stuff like that. But it just was like, damn, I think I like this more than that, which sucked to say, but like I wasn't willing to let go of any of this space because like, and not like physical space, but like the capacity that I was at and running around. And why? Because it was like a pandemic and I sat around for 6 months feeling useless. Like I only could do so much. Granted, there was some fun times. Like I said, I watched fucking Trailer Park Boys. I binge watched the whole universe of that. They got like 3 Christmas movies. That's hilarious. A whole other show of them traveling Europe or down America, whatever. They were because they're from Canada, so they were traveling America. And then the 11th season, we watched that like a month and a half. And I was waking up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, eating cereal, watching TV all day. Like I was 13, 14 again. It was cool. You know, it was a cool little break in between all the grind and monotony and stuff, but like there was an imbalance. So then when I came back, I was like, I need to hit it harder and better. Like I had time to rest. Like, what am I gonna do with that? I need to expand on it and do more. And I did, but like I said, like at the end of it, it's like the mental stuff on that side of things. Like, why did I need to do that? A whole bunch of reasons. But it was like
it all led to this moment. You know what I mean? Which is really important because like I definitely feel that way, dude. I went through like, I don't even know how many video games. Like, I was like, I can play all these games like that I had, like, because I get Steam, you know what I mean? I get them on the sale, so I have like 50, 60 games that I haven't played. Like, I'm playing them, and like that was like the biggest thing. Like, I started diving into like questioning my thoughts around that same time because I was so like, I felt like alone, you know what I mean? I'd just come back from like traveling and like, I'm like, I've been gone for like a year, you know what I mean? Like, I don't even know how I fit in here anymore, you know what I mean? And like, just like questioning that in itself, I was like, oh, like that's something like that. I produced that. Like, nobody told me that, you know what I mean? Like, I went into my mind and judged that. I was like, okay, you don't fit in here. You know what I mean? So I really had a lot of time to just be like, wow, like, this is crazy, you know what I mean? Like, this, nobody's telling me these things. And I'm just like producing the outcomes, and like I guess I have more space to like notice those things. So like when I did start like getting more of in a creative mode, it was like less, because I just spent so much of my life beating myself up, shame for this. Oh, this is a bad thought. This is, Because like once you diagnose like a thought, it's like, oh, like this is how I feel with it. I can feel like my stomach tightening up when I get this thought, or like whatever. I really like to connect with my physical body, because like that's kind of how it works for me, is like a thought connected to a part of me. You know what I mean?
A whole thing after that is getting over how you were during the times of the, like, your toxic insecurities or toxic masculinity. Like, some things that I can sometimes never shake off is just some of the times where I was super toxic, and like my first relationship when I was like 18, like, you know what I mean, 16, 18. It's like, God, what a douchebag. I was like, you know what I mean? Like, I'll just have random ass thoughts, you know what I mean? And I'm sure she doesn't care. I'm sure she's already moved on, and I moved on, but also still, it's like, wow. Like, you know, or like just anything, arguments, gotten friends, it's like, I didn't have to take it that far, like my pride in the way, or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like getting, like, healing from your past actions, trying to forgive yourself, and all that is a whole nother process on top of already going through the depression and already going through
I mean, to me it's one and the same, bro, because like I really come to realize, like, the thing we call ego, like identifying our thoughts, is like it never leaves us alone, because it's trying to show us what we're holding on to. You know what I mean? What we're identifying with. It's like, this is what you identify with. So like
I see what you're saying.
it's like this is it. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, the shame came back again, and it's like, yeah, like, because it's like you don't want to feel like this, but you keep doing it. You know what I mean? So it's only gonna correct itself. You know what I mean? Until when it's like, oh, like, I mean, the other day, bro, I was in the car, and I was like, I came to this realization, man, and I was like, man, like, I thanked those thoughts. You know what I mean, for hanging around, because like ultimately, like I was saying, when I was young, I didn't know how to comfort myself. I didn't know how to self-soothe. You know what I mean? Those things helped me. It comforted me in a time where I felt all over the place. You know what I mean? So it was like, yo, thank you. Like, I would not be the same person I am today without those experiences. And like, it continually showing me that it's like, you're attached to your mom, or like you're attached to football, or you know, you imagine making music one way, or like, and then it gets breaking down into like, this is how you view creation. You know, this is how you view the feminine. This is how you view like men. You know what I mean? And like, it wouldn't stop showing me. You know what I mean? It doesn't stop. So it's like, that's why I'm ultimately grateful, because it's like, man, like, it's just crazy, bro. Like, I didn't ask to be shown none of this. Like, it just happened. So it's like, I feel like a lot of people have to like go through so much shit just to like be like, oh, I feel like I'm the best version of myself. And it's like, that's like, I don't know, for me it's like, it's just like all one and the same. Like, it was only my ideas that separated these things. You know what I mean? And like, I don't know what it's like for anyone else, because like, I just truly believe like I have my perception of life, and like that works for me. You know what I mean? And like, maybe that's like a red lens. You know what I mean? And like, somebody else will have a perception of life, and he'll see things, no, that's blue. You know what I mean? And I'll be like, I'll look over and I'll be like, no, that's purple. Like, what are you talking? You know what I mean? So it's just like an ongoing thing that's like, I will never truly understand what you mean. I'll never understand what you mean. I'll never understand what they mean. That's great, because like that's why I'm here.
Again, that uniqueness to everyone. And
that's
like,
fucking amazing.
It's like all that uniqueness that you start feeling from it, and you're just able to be like, wow, that really does, like, it just adds that much more of like excitement to it. It's like, cool, like everybody's gonna share and experience things a whole different way. That's fine.
Can't take anything personal.
Like,
can't take nothing personal.
Like, it's just like, that's just the way that they see things. Like, even like with stuff that people just like even on like sides of racism, like, of course I don't agree with it, but that's because that's their reality. Whatever pain they have, that's why they see it that way. They can't accept everyone for being them. They have to try to feel superior, again, to like the projection and stuff like that. Like, you have issues to where you need to shit on somebody else, like whether it's like racism, homophobia, like, you know, whatever it is, fucking nationalism, like, you need to feel proud in like some place you stole, like, you know what I mean, like, and that's the hill you want to die on, literally. Like, you know what I mean, like, all right, you know, and like, look at how it is. It's just like, you know, you people have to throw out, well, I do this and I do that, and they bring up all this stuff, the levels of it. So it's just like, and then just understanding the uniqueness to it. Like, oh, that's what tickles you. Cool. All right. It's like whatever, as long as it's not hurting anybody else, or, you know, along those lines. It's like it's straight, and it's like, and just like that uniqueness to it and stuff like that, and just, you know, like you were saying, Matt, about just like those things flaring up. It's because like ego. It is. It's literally like, that's the best way you put it, is it's like it's speaking back to you to say like, yo, either A, you haven't like fully processed it, and this is where like some, you know, like one of my mentors told me, my dad said it in a better way, but like it's like you could lie to me, but you can't bullshit yourself. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could lie to me all day, but you can't bullshit yourself. So it's like, what it ends up coming back to is like, how much of it have you like really done? Your body, your mind is telling you like, yeah, you have it to this level, but did you dive deep enough into it? Because I know I go through that, like, where I'm just like, yeah, I'm handling things, and then, you know, and it's just like I go home and I almost feel this sense of like, hey, you whack as fuck, like you full of shit. And I'm just like, damn, like, and this is my internal dialogue, like calling me out, and I'm just like, damn, like, you right, like I ain't shooting the way that I'm supposed to. I'm faking the funk. I'm not fucking keeping it real, like, you know. And so it's like, you know, like I'll see things, and then it's just like something will happen, and it pops up in another way, maybe not in the exact way, but it pops up in another way, and it's not fully addressed. You know, so it's like ego, like kind of letting you know, like, why is it still bothering you? Because true acceptance and apology, like, and things like that, is like where you're able to acknowledge where you were wrong, how you went wrong, and how you're gonna do better. And at that point, there ain't shit else to be said. There ain't no acceptance from that person towards those situations and stuff like that. There's levels of closure, but for me, I just always feel like they're gonna feel how they're gonna feel, regardless. Like, they're still holding on to shit, and I'm not waiting for that train to fucking wait. I'm not waiting on that train to arrive. Like, 100%. Whenever you're fucking straight, that's cool. But I know that if I'm being real, then like, I was sorry about this. I did do these things. Here's what I did, and I'm sorry, and here's how I figured out how to do better and not do that again. And then people still want to drag you for it and stuff, and you're just like, but I mean, it's like this like cancel side of things and stuff, where I'm just like, at what point, like, you know, outside of like somebody like raping and murdering somebody and stuff like that, like, what point is there like not is like the grace of like being human there? Like, you know what I mean? And that's why I say, like, I mean, the rape side of things is like, that's unforgivable, you know what I mean? But it's like, even then, it's just like, you could forgive them and just be gone with them and stuff like that, like, you know. And like, and I say that on like, not as a survivor side of things, but like on like somebody around you. It's just like, no, I'm just not gonna fuck with you, but I'm not gonna wish you ill. Like, that's what I mean by that by that setup. But
you know, and like when we go in to like try to understand each other, you know what I mean, and like that's where I feel like the disconnect happens. It's like, I can't remember where I heard this, but I heard this quote that's like, as soon as I understand something, I'm projecting. So if I assume that I understand you, I'm projecting onto you, you know what I mean, and you, like, who I think you are. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's like, it's really hard, because like, those are conversations that need to happen, ultimately. You know what I mean? That's why it feels like this weight, because it's a hefty conversation. You know, oh, canceled. This person is never gonna speak again. Like, that's what you're telling me. You know what I mean? It's like, man, I don't know. I truly don't know. You know what I mean? I know that I'm not the judge, jury, and executioner.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
100%.
It's way bigger than all of us. But like, yeah, man, it's definitely it's worth a conversation if it's always about a human life. You know what I mean? Or sanity.
How do you address a friend's like toxic insecurities or toxic masculinity? Because I think that needs to be talked about a lot. Because usually, you know, you always want to know your homies is kind of a douche to his girl, or pretty like this or that. You know, it's like I see you do it a lot, but especially for because you're a mentor to a lot of us, so you can definitely like just, you know, like, hey, you know, come here, little homie, like, yeah. But like, how do you do it for like your friends that are older than you, or like, your peers? Like, you know what I'm saying?
A lot of just for me, it's just been always just like, I believe in that friendship more than anything. Like, and that's kind of how I always approach issue. Is I always approach issue that, look, let me address, like, we're gonna address some shit, But tomorrow I plan on building with you. Tomorrow I plan on like going to get dinner, heading to the bar, going to practice together, whatever their like our relationship dictates, right? So like one of my OGs and stuff like that, dance OGs. Like tomorrow I plan on going to this lab, I'm going to the studio and practicing with you. But in order for us to get there and be good, I want to address this today. These are things that are going to stop that from happening. And that's not what I want to do. But it's also like, one, putting an investment into the future with them, as well as putting investment into like bettering the situation and correcting it and stuff. So it's like, it's just all on approach and communication about those things. So like I never go at it like trying to attack it, because for what? Like, and you come in and you start throwing names and well, so and so said this too, and so said that. It's like, well, now you just dragged in everybody else for no reason. What was the point of those things? Like, if the goal is to address things, the reason that I want to address them is because I value our friendship, relationship, people, connection. To the point that I know that this is where I want to get to, but we have to address that. And usually it's just like in that intention of not coming in like, yo, you fucking up, what the fuck, blah, 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 and coming at them sideways, because then what energy are you gonna, what everybody's gonna, I'm sure as shit gonna reciprocate that energy. Second, somebody starts barking at me, I'm barking back, because it's just like, I don't like that. Like, I do not like that. I don't know, like, there's no reason to communicate to me that on that level. Like, you can talk to me straight up, and then I'll be able to match that, because I believe in that enough to like that we'll be able to go there. But then if you start coming in sideways, you start coming in kind of like, some things like, above, like fucking pompous and shit and everything, holier than thou and everything. And then I'm it's just like, you can act holier than thou, like you ain't God, you ain't above me. Like, don't push me, I'll put you below me. It's like that's like all of a sudden it goes there, and it's like, why? Because that's the energy you're giving me. So like, let me share with you this way. So it's like, for me, it's always been able to just have those conversations and having enough knowledge of said thing that you're going to try to correct. Because the last thing you want to do is go to war with no ammo. You know what I mean? Like, and then you just like, you go to correct them and they're like, well, here's why. And then you got no response. And you're just like, well, shit. But it's knowing enough about that subject, about why, not just the subject, but how it affects you, how it affects others. And that's those things you need to come equipped with. And then also just the understanding, again, back to everybody's unique. Those experiences, just because you feel that that's that way, they might not experience that. A lot of these shorties, the reason they don't see value in women is because they see how their moms are treated. 9 times out of 10, their moms are treated like shit. So that's how they think that they do that. Now, would they do that to their mom? No, but they don't see how they're perpetuating that behavior. And
they might do it
the
to
same
their
way.
Wife,
like, you're gonna treat, like, you watched your mom get dogged, and you're gonna go and dog women the same way
if you don't address it.
Like, why? Like, why are you gonna why not be better? Well, they ain't her. I was like, but at some point she was them. Like, to one of these guys, to you, and stuff like that. Like, and that girl that you're speaking about that way is somebody, and not because the only value they have, as is somebody's mom, as is somebody's sister or whatever, or and vice versa. I'm just using like examples that I've come across with, like, from the shorties. But though, like, they're people at the end of the day. Like, it's like, why would you treat that way? But like, understanding that the reason that they probably go that route is because you understand the uniqueness of their situation. You got to really know who you're talking to. And then, like you said, like, if it's homies, it's just, you at least kind of understand. It's not like some rando, like, you just hear talking sideways and shit, like, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to have conversations with people like that. You walk through the door, there's like 5 I gotta handle every day. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to add onto my plate. Exactly. Speaking of balance,
because it's also not your job, but it's also like, how long do you let it, let it go?
It's like,
you know what I mean? Like, what are the lines?
And it's like, those conversations with, like, even my, like, people, like, I believe in being able to go that. When I go and approach, like, some of the younger people around me, like, I don't approach it from, like, hey, look, I'm this older person, coming at it that way, because then they're just like, but it's just like approaching them as like someone who just experience is a lot different than age. I feel like when you start throwing around the word experience, people are willing to listen to that as opposed to be like, I'm 36 and this is just how it is, as opposed to like, I've been through this a few times, yo. Like I've been held up. Here's where I failed people, and sharing those experiences, that helps really like kind of de-escalate a situation, because that the way to communicate with people about addressing and holding them accountable for actions, about being like, you know, like being a shithead to their girl and stuff like that, and doing these things and stuff, it's just like, it's just simple enough. It's honestly like, even like some of my not now homies, but like homies that were just like okay with cheating on their girl about shit, and I'm just like, yo, that don't fly.
Yeah.
So you're gonna go snitch? I'm like, I ain't about to say shit, but I ain't
don't
about
bring
to.
Me into it.
I'm not about to be around you.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna validate this behavior, dog. Like I'm just not gonna be around you.
Yeah.
Like that's your, like I personally won't step into that business. But like I'm just not gonna be around you. Like you don't bring that sort of character trait. Isn't something I want to add to my repertoire. And my repertoire is my circle, my people, my equipment, my homies. Like what I carry around me, like all that. Like the last thing I'm gonna do is bring weak armor into the battle. Like you know, like those are spaces. Because if you do that in one space, you probably do that elsewhere.
Yeah, and then, or another situation.
And if they're willing to have that conversation, the cool thing is then you're able to start talking about like, well, why do you think that's okay? Like, oh, it's just, you know, blah blah. And it's like, well, then that gets into the conversations about like our own spaces and insecurities and shit like that and stuff like that. You know, so.
Yeah, I would say that's where I kind of start, is usually with a question. Because like, I mean, it depends on the severity. If there's like, if it's a level of like violence or something that I can't really understand so well, you know what I mean? I'll sometimes I might get angry before, and I have to like write it out before I have to like plan out ahead of time to like work out my own thoughts before like I can even approach them. You know what I mean? And like sometimes it's like something where it's like, oh, they lied to me. Do I know this? Yes. They lie. I saw them lie to me. You know what I mean? Have I lied before? Hell yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Lying to sit in.
What did it feel like when I lied? You know what I mean? Oh man, like I felt like I just want to be alone. I didn't want to talk to nobody. Like I just felt like I need to be by myself and isolate and work that out. You know what I mean? So like those are things I like to remember if it's like a specific instance that like I know I've done this. You know what I mean? How did I like get back from that essentially? You know what I mean? And then like kind of just work out maybe some questions with them. It's like, okay, why did you feel that was necessary? Like why? What was going through your head? You know what I mean? Because most of the time, I mean, when I lied, it was like a very unconscious. Oh, that's just what I had to do. You know what I mean? And I just throw it in the back. You know what I mean? And then it like you said, you know what I mean? You turn around 10 years, 20 years later, and it's bigger, and it comes back up. And it's like, why did I just compulsively lie?
It's a big aspect. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, man, it's definitely, I think, like discerning whatever it is, the situation, you know what I mean? It's going to be different every time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's almost like the way that we receive emotions. You know what I mean? It's like it comes in through our nervous system, like we get a feeling in our body, a certain place, you know what I mean? And that is traveling up our spine, and it'll always hit emotion, you know what I mean? The emotion part of our brain is in the back, and logic's in the front. So like it travels up, and it's always going to go by emotion first before it gets to the logic. You know what I mean? So it's inevitable.
That's a good way to think about it. That's very true.
I mean, I read it in this book. It's called Emotional Intelligence 2.0. I can't remember the author at the top.
Yeah, I think I want to read
Fire
that
book, man. It really helped me break down, like, and honestly just look at myself as my body and separate that with, like, my thoughts that I've identified and separate that with my soul.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they're all different places from which, like, I react. You know what I mean? And, you know, noticing that, especially with my family. My family's been, like, my greatest teachers. Because, like, they carry with them, like, whenever I look at them or, like, interact with them, there's this, like, oh, I know you. You're Matt from the past. You know what I mean? And I have to, like, confront that and be like, I'm Matt in this moment. You know what I mean? And that's all I can do.
Who I was, for sure.
And not even that. I can't even engage. You know what I mean? I just have to show up and be. Because anything other than that, it's like we're what, you know what I mean? You can feel it. Like it's like we know who you are, and it's
that's
like
the realest thing I ever heard.
I mean, bro, like life for me is constantly. I mean, you have to define yourself, or other people are gonna do it for you.
Yeah.
And again, that comes into believing in originality and being able to be who you are. Like that's why that is so powerful. Like that's why Stunts is such a happy person.
Yeah.
Originality stands alone, and it really does make you stand alone. But I'd rather, it's better to stand, alone and you're happy than be fake and with everybody around you faking the funk too. Because and like-minded people are gonna be able to like pick up on that and be around it and stuff like that. Want to associate with that because they're gonna be like, oh, he's that authenticity. Is something that a lot of people vibrate with. That like they understand that they're wanting to be around. And they gravitate towards. So like just again to like that originality and being okay with who you are is just even if it's a dance move or a beat, a personality, a graphic like that you come up with. Like think about how much confidence it takes to get that out on the paper. How much confidence it takes to get that out on the floor on the machine, right? It weighs a ton, but when you get out, you're just able to like you see it and you're like, damn, that's me. Now you got to get them to believe in it. And that's the part that I really hone in on and stuff. Like why I'm always harping on Edwin about this. Like stop belittling yourself. This language, like I tell everybody, 5 words you don't say around me: shoulda, woulda, coulda, try, and might. Like nah, you do. Like whatever it is. Like there's ways to like where you're gonna like make every effort to achieve that. That's a whole different mindset than try. Try like my mentor Terry told me. He's like, try. Like the short of this is if you got like literally you got the time on your phone, you're gonna be able to make one phone call and then it dies. You're stranded in the middle of nowhere, middle of the night, cold ass day, and your car battery dies and stuff like that, and you're just SOL and ain't nobody driving on that thing. You get a call and you call me and I say I'm gonna try to be there. The fuck is that? What do you mean you're gonna try? Click. Nah, I don't know. See how much doubt there is in that situation?
You do
but
that
if
to
I
yourself.
at least am able to be like, yo,
it's crazy.
I'm gonna make it out there in an hour because I gotta finish what I'm doing here, and then I'll be out there so I'll be out there in 2 hours. Shit, I'm gonna be sitting here in the cold for 2 hours is a lot better than not knowing. But saying you're gonna try, that's what you're already placing doubt in yourself. You're already placing the seed of failure there for that to grow and fester. The second you say try, and it's just like I've worked so hard to get that out of my vernacular, vocabulary, and stuff like that. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, about to, might. Hope is another thing I think is full of shit. Hope is another is try with a nice pair of shoes on. You know what I mean? Like, it's like with fly kicks on. Like the hope is just as bad because you're just hoping, or are you gonna work for it? You know what I mean? You're gonna actively do all the shit you need to do to get it in order to make it happen, or you're just gonna hope shit works. You're just gonna sit here, play on your phone, and hope shit pans out.
Hope this podcast blows up.
Right? Or you're gonna work towards what you need to do in production and studying and learning more about the audio and video and promotion, social media, and different platforms. Hell no, you ain't about to hope for shit. You working. You doing those things. That's why I'm just always like, shoulda, woulda, coulda, hope, and try are just like the worst words, because it's just like, are you gonna try to be a better person? You're gonna hope to be a better person? You're gonna, I should have been a better person, I would have been a better person, I could have been a better person. Like, all that was bullshit. Like, like just do it. What is, and it's not like it's just gonna happen. Nah, don't be dumb. Like, start working. You're gonna like, here's these steps to do that and everything. Like, and that's why, again, just that belief in who you are and what you create. And like, he constantly, Edwin, back to it, that's what it was. Edwin constantly like puts this like doubt in his mind about things. I'm like, no, just be dope. Like the second you start, and it's not cocky. It's like, and even that idea of humble, that's a whole other thing. But like, fuck it, I don't want to be humble. Like I work too hard to be humble. Like, and I'm not over here talking shit like, look at how dope I am, I'm better than everybody. But no, look at how hard I worked and how much shit we got to play with at any given moment. Like the mics, the DJ equipment, the beat stuff, the fucking dance studio. I got weights in the back. Like, we got a bike and an inversion table because we helped somebody out. Like, that's dope. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's cool. It's dope. And it's like, look it, that's cool. I'm not bragging about it. I just wanted to know. I believe in what I did enough to where it's like, And that affects insecure people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you being cocky. No, I'm confident and you're insecure.
I still have respect for you.
Yeah.
I'm just confident as shit.
Yeah, like it's not
respect.
like it's not hurting you. I'm not saying you whack or you can't do above and you can't go beyond and shit and everything. It's like, yo, like fucking perfect. This is my year, dog. Like every dog gets his day. This one's mine. Like you know, and that's how I kind of approach things. And it's never with hurting anybody. So I try to give that to Edwin. Like, yo, like DJ, make beats, talk your shit. Because you know what? At the end of the day, like you in a b-boy spot, like you know what I mean. Like you're the
only kid your age doing that right now, especially around here.
And even if you ain't, you grew up around b-boys. Like make better. Now time to show and prove. Like you know what I mean. Like if you believed in yourself enough, like nobody can knock you off your rocker. And that's kind of like the b-boy mentality about being original. After I dug it was, after I got into it and learned from the right people, is it's not about battling anybody. It's always about being able to, like, even when you lose, you still walk away with such confidence that people are like, maybe he did win. You know what I mean? So it's like like that's how I always walk out of it. Like, hey, the judges might have said I won, but yo, shorty, she was feeling me. She liked it. Like, you know what I mean? So shit. My crew thought it was dope, of course. You know what I mean? Like somebody thought it was dope, cool. So he didn't win everybody. You know, like. But then there's that one times where you get smoked, but we don't talk about that. But it's like that belief in yourself and that originality. Like that's why that's so powerful. Like that whatever you create, whatever you do, whatever you're into is okay. That's valid. Like so many kids are into stuff and they're just like waiting on like the cool kid in class to like give them the thumbs up, like, or want to be into it before they can do it. And I hate that shit. Like there's nothing I hate more than that. Like I watch this kid who's like just like super dope with whatever it is, breaking, DJing, anime, whatever it is, and they're just loving it. And then this kid comes in and talks shit, and they're just like, "Nah, I'm straight," and they walk away. I'm like, like I hate, like man, and it's just like obviously I'm not going over there and beating up a little kid, like, talk shit, fucking 8th grader, but it's like
students like that,
but it's like I'm just like, man, it's just how many times does that happen throughout a day for these kids where they don't try. They only wear the same things. Like I seen a kid who thrifts and has his flyest gear, and everyone's like, he dressed stupid. And I'm like, bro, I was like, this is one of the flyest kids. Like, I was like, this is one of the
sweet.
Yeah, like this is one of the flyest kids because he stands out. Y'all have these Foot Locker outfits that everybody has across the damn country. You ain't standing out. And I get it, the social pressure and stuff like that. But once you put that seed of belief in them and it grows, man, everything they touch is gold. And that's and I can honestly say that's like the common thread among successful people is they put it out. They journal, they get those thoughts out, and it's successful in their mind. They're able to heal from those things, right? Because they're able to get those things out. They're able to create. They were able to put out a podcast. Fuck what everybody else says. Cool. So you got this goofy looking white wall behind us and stuff like that. Okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what does that matter? I put this out and you love what you do and you're enjoying it, and that's what matters. Same thing with music, same thing with dancing. Oh, you fat, this, that, and the other. I constantly get that big ass and everybody always hitting their butts. I'm like, that's good, like at me, and I'm just like, that's cool. I'm like, try to gain some weight and let me see if you could do anything near what I can do.
So you still are spinning on your head.
Like, I'm double your size, homie. Like, I'm still doing this and keeping up with you. And then the other big guys that are there and everything that they're always trying to put me against, that's a whole other thing. Anyway, it's just slow asses. I'm fast for my size.
No, that's real though, man.
But
because like when we take that time, you know what I mean, to identify whatever it is, you know what I mean, that we're trying to do. You know what I mean? Ultimately, like, for me, that's like, there's always going to be a level of validation. Like, I'm not going to deny myself that, like, this feels good talking to you guys. You know what I mean? I'm not going to deny myself, you know what I mean? Well, whatever, like, I don't want to make beats with so-and-so, because then I might sound like him. Like, I've never, I have, like, when I first started creating music, like, I was like, oh, I don't want to be influenced by these people. But now it's like, because I'm like, well, everyone's dope. So it's like, it doesn't even, like, the thought doesn't even cross my mind anymore, because I'm not even like, oh, I'm going to get an influence. It's like, I've already been influenced. And like, it happens subconsciously. You know what I mean? It's like, what we can control is like, when the thought comes up, like, are we going to believe it? You know what I mean? And like, because it's just inevitable, like we were talking about, because the way that the brainstem works.
Yeah.
So it's like it hits your emotional center first. Like there's a feeling, there's a thought that crosses the mind, and it's like, I don't know what it is for some people. For me, sometimes it's like, oh, well, am I wasting my time? Is this person, like how much longer are we going to sit here listening to this person? You know what I mean? And I just have to give that space and just like, oh, there's that thought again. You know what I mean? Like, cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we're working on music. Like, we're working on a podcast. Like,
working on mental health.
Yeah. But, I mean, it never stops. You know what I mean? And like, so, that's why I really appreciate that, man, because it's like, I get a lot of pleasure, you know what I mean? And like, I see more and more what love is when people love themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
And how many more people gravitate to you when you just enjoy you? You know what I mean? Like, vibrant is a good word. You just like, people are like, damn, what is that? And and then you're okay with yourself. You are okay in being original. You're okay with moving a little different. And again, the heart back on that, like that originality. Like you are original. You are unique, and that draws people in. It's captivating. Nobody wants to watch what everybody else is doing. Right. You know what I mean? And even that idea of like being happy and loving yourself is unique, because it's like so many people are like always want to complain of themselves and everything. Mm-hmm. Like I'll call, a lot of people are always like, you talk so bad yourself. No, I'm just calling myself out on my dumb behavior. Like if I'm being like lack of discipline and stuff like that.
Sure.
Yeah. You know what I mean? But like, I know I'm dope. Like, I ain't about to sit there and dog myself out and everything. I'm just like being a lazy ass. Being fucking lazy, being a piece of shit about fucking eating, like, here you go again. Like, damn it.
Yeah.
Damn, I'm hungry, by the way.
And that, I mean, that's why I really, like, I love the point of view of, like not knowing what people mean. You know what I mean? It's like, I can totally agree with you, but at the end of the day, like, I never will know what that means for you. And that's dope. Because it's like, it's to me, it liberates me from that feeling of like, what is this? Like, we have to identify it. It's passing through the mind. We got to identify it. Like, it's influencing us. We got to identify it. You know what I mean? And like, those thoughts are just thoughts, essentially. They don't exist. They're not as real as this table or you and I, you know what I mean? And like, that ultimately for me it's so liberating. Yeah. Because it's like for majority of my life, you know what I mean, being in a busy household and stuff, and like I was constantly thinking, you know what I mean, just constantly, and I didn't even realize how addicted to thought I was. That's something that I don't really hear a lot, is like, we always think like we're supposed to think all the time, right? Mm-hmm. Like our society never sleeps, never stops, but it's like we can be addicted to things on a very basic level of like fantasizing, or like, oh my gosh, like I'm obsessed with getting this equipment, or like, oh, I just want this girl to like me, or like, all these things that it's just like, and we can see them unfold, you know what I mean? That's what's so powerful about being a human, you know what I mean? You can literally perceive it, you know what I mean? And like imagine what it'll look like, what it'll taste like, what it'll feel like, oh, the experience, you know what I mean? And that's what it is. Like, it's just an experience. So when we think about those things and get lost in them, and that's when we kind of start deviating, and it's like this whole other person is arise from us, is what we believe. We give it, that was my ego. My bad. I'm just acting up. Like, I don't know what it was. It's always us. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I like what you said about like even just like something about like the thing that I grabbed is like, even when it comes from like knowing how everybody takes in stuff and it's going to be different, again, like that uniqueness, experience, empathy, understanding, like those very common things. And it's like when you digest a piece of art, music, paintings, dance, whatever, I love knowing that it doesn't mean the same thing to everybody. Like the second that it moves, like it's cool. Oh, you felt that too? Cool. We have like this girl I've been going out with lately. Like, it's just like there was a moment where, two moments exactly. One where, we seen something on complete opposite sides, and I was just like, damn, how okay. You know, and it wasn't that it was bad, but then the other side was like, oh, we seen something and we both were like, oh, let's share a similar experience. That's so unique. That's so dope. Oh, cool. Mm-hmm. But the other part of it is just like where it's like artists will put out that, and then it's like it means that to you at that moment. Like music, like listening to like whatever, just offhand, like some Nas at the time, lines that went over my head. Oh, and then as I got old, and it wasn't because it was super complex, it's just I never experienced that.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I didn't understand that. Like this whole when what album was that? Life is Good drop. I was not in a good spot. I was not in a good place. Yeah, life was not good. So that album was like, I didn't listen to it too much.
Yeah.
And then other people listened to it and heard so much, and I'm like, nah, that shit was whack. But then I go back and listen to it, and I'm like, damn, like, I feel that now. Like, now I've experienced something to that level where I'm just like, oh, shit. Like, there was a point, like, when that album came out in 2012, I wasn't doing anything but chasing my heroes, like, to try to just get acknowledged by them. I wasn't doing anything but trying to attach myself to a woman or something like that to, you know, have a partner because I needed some support and everything. And then it's like, he has a line that says, when, I had it here. When, you become better than legends you thought you were the greatest and outgrow women you love and thought you could stay with. I'm like, at that point, like,
he was calling you out.
Yeah, like I didn't have any of that shit. Like I was trying to get acknowledged from them and everything.
Point, yeah.
But like now it's like, yeah, like I've outgrown these guys because I've been able to experience that level of success that these legends have, and like I'm just like, and y'all did that with it? Damn. But like that's a whole other aspect and everything. And then like the women in love, like and outgrow women you love and thought you could stay with, like damn, you're the one. And then damn, I outgrew this. Like, that's kind of like what happened with this past relationship. Like, I just outgrew this space. Didn't mean that it was bad or toxic or she was horrible again or I was doing this shit and just wasn't, bullshitting her. It was just like, oh, I've outgrown this. This ain't working. Just traveling, going back over there, doing this thing. It's like, damn, I just outgrew this. This isn't what I want, like, at the time. Like, I need somebody that's going to be able to grind with me that's, like, got their own mission. And, like, when I don't respond for 3 days, it's not the end of the world because... Yeah. You just know I'm so entranced by my work, like, this is what I got going, but I know I'm not, so I'm not ignoring that. But it's like, for me, it's like when those artists put out those moments, put out that music, and at times of your life, it'll speak to you in different ways. Mm-hmm. And also it'll speak to different people in different ways at different times. And so it's just like, it's so unique to everybody. And it's like, almost like the second they explain it to you, it ruins it too. I hate hearing people explain, like, the way that it's supposed to be, like the Sopranos ending, the movie or the TV show, and everybody starts doing it, and it's and I love it because nobody's wrong, because the creator hasn't come out and said he did die, he didn't die. Yeah. I said spoilers in the beginning, and it's fucking. It came out in 2003. Like fuck off. There's gotta be like a buffer between that, and so it's like, but like David Chase hasn't come out and said. That's there. And so what happens 20 years later, people are still talking about it because it's open to interpretation, and I love that about art. You're gonna experience things and see it for value or not. Again, that's how I look at breaking. You can argue with me about such and such winning and everything, but there's nothing other than experience and subjectivity that why you like that. Because it's just like, tell everybody how do you judge? It's arguing the color blue. Yeah, that's it. It's just arguing the color blue, and somebody could tell you it's blue green, blue blue, blue red, kind of bluish. It's purple, right? Yeah, that's cyan. They want to get all fancy and break it down into like hues because of prisms and shit, right? And that's all fucking. They're all right. Yeah, they're all wrong. Like it's fine. This is what I said, and like, I just. Like when I battle people on a tangent, when I battle people, like it's because I like either respect them, don't like them, they disrespected me. It's on that. I'm not battling and calling out a judge because he said that I didn't win a battle. It's like that's what he's seen. That's what they seen. Yeah, like if they seen, that's what they thought was better. Then okay, like who who am I to argue with how they perceive it? And then
judges.
let alone like you get into like the physics of it. You sitting in an angle looking at it down this way, maybe it looked better than it actually did. You didn't see them kind of crash on this side of their body because you couldn't see it. Same thing with like football. There's certain angles like they won't let them review because they have to be from where they're at, and they only bring those officials over. The other officials aren't allowed to see it or review it from that way from the camera angle zoomed in and knows that ball hit that. Those officials ain't allowed to see that footage. They're only allowed to judge, which is fucking insane. Like I want to go
a lot for sports.
I want to go argue with everybody, but like
no, bro, that's like why I kind of gravitated away from like beat battles. You know what I mean? Because I'm like this. You know what I mean? Especially at the time when I first started, I was way more emotional than I am now with that certain scenario, because it was like, how is someone going to tell me this? Like, I was bobbing my head for this for 4 hours when I made it. You know what I mean? Like, that's cold. Crazy. You know what I mean? But it's like, then I understood there was an environment to it. You know what I mean? I don't know if everyone's breaking it down. Like, for me, I had to break it down because I'm like, it doesn't really line up with how I view creativity. You know what I mean? Like, so we create, we come from nothing, and then we're going to be like, this is something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, as opposed to like, there's like more concrete ways of like creating, but like when it comes to beats, it's like, man, like this guy has an MPC, this guy has GarageBand.
Yeah, and
how are we gonna judge this?
Yeah.
Some guy's gonna throw all power. Some guy's gonna do footwork with mad flows and a lot of intricateness and stuff. It's like even like when I start thinking about like somebody doing a handstand freeze, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, there's a handstand freeze, and then there's somebody who does a freeze with like a bridge, like their feet are on the ground, but they got a cool shape and got into it doper. It's like, well, their feet hit. Like I love when people say it's about execution. So when their feet drag, I'm like, but what if that's what they mean? You know what I mean? Like, what if they want it to look like that? What if the beat has like a hi-hat that goes shh, and they want it to like, so now it's like it calls into question, like, how do you know that they weren't doing that? Like, you know what I mean? So it's just like, and again, it gets into, you just got to be fresh in the single. Like you're 40, you're not fresh, bro. Like you are literally the definition of stale. You're 40 years old. Stop telling me to be fresh. Stop telling kids they ain't fresh. Like not everybody's gonna wear Pumas and shit. It's not even like everybody's trying to look in the 80s. It's like it's not gonna look in the 90s. Like your idea of fresh was a long tee and Air Force One. So shut up. Like,
well, fellas, we're going on an hour and a half here, but I mean, so natural. You can probably talk for another 2 hours. I feel like,
hey, look what song came out.
But what's right?
Hey,
this is gonna be my sample.
Yeah. You can use that. I'll let that take us out. But it was dope, man. This was cool, man.
Yeah, I'm finally glad to have you on there. You know, we gotta do more for MC68 too. Yeah. You're gonna have one for MC68 and hip hop.
Closing thought, Matt. What you got?
Closing thought. Oh yeah, you're Matt. He calls you Matt too. He calls you Matt too sometimes.
Every time I'm like,
like shit.
Oh man, I love y'all, man. I'm grateful for y'all having me in this space, in this moment. I really appreciate what you guys share. You guys for being yourselves. And it teaches me how to go even deeper, man. So I appreciate y'all so much, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you and like you said, having those conversations with the youth and just, you know, in general. Like that's what I was like. I think it's important that everybody's ready to do that, and you know, because the world right now is moving faster than ever. Everything's technology-wise and everything.
Bro,
and you know,
nothing will humble you quicker than like admitting a kid that you don't know anything.
Yes. Ignorance. It's okay. You just don't stay ignorant, you know. But yeah. Appreciate it.
Mine would be just. What the hell was that?
1 second.
Tyler, somebody. Hello.
This should be new students here.
Tyler. It was 4
Someone
o'clock.
else has some closing thoughts.
That's funny. All right. That's
they're looking for work.
Oh my gosh. You gotta love it.
Tyler's got it. Okay, cool. There he goes. This is perfect timing, bro. Like we get interrupted. We got the ignorant song on. Like it's wild. My closing thoughts is just deal with it. Call Liz. Somebody who speaks Spanish. Well, I don't speak Spanish. But this is like fuck that. Anyway, just I kept saying being original and believing in yourself, and I feel like that's just a common thread. Like I started this because I just believed in like what I was doing. Like I was just like, yo, I'm about to do this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it. You started a podcast because you believed in yourself, and it's going to be original to what it is. You're not trying to do what everybody else is doing. You're like, yo, this is dope. Like this is what I want to do. You came down here because you believed you could just connect with people and make music with some shorties. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Candace started fucking Free Body because she believed in what she did and everything. You know, Denise started it because she believed in what she did, and she's approaching it uniquely. Candace is doing something unique with that whole movement. You know, everybody you've had on here, you know, is doing something unique with all of that. And why are they? Like, why are they doing something unique and that they love and that they're passionate about? Because they believe in themselves. They believe that they believe in them, and that is an original thought. Like, that is original. Like, being willing to be who you are in the midst of all this. So yeah.
But yeah, definitely appreciate you guys, fellas. I think this is gonna be a great one, and you know, I'm excited to ask more people about mental health and how they handle it. So,
sure,
appreciate it. Peace and love, everyone.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna go deal with the